group. And today we have two alumni. They're going to be speaking to us and sharing their stories in terms of their experiences, both as students at Miami and also in their workplace and their career path. And so we're excited to be able to bring these alums back and to share with you. And so for the students, if you have any questions that you would like to be asking these alumni, we could do it one of two ways. One is you could post the question in the chat box, and we'll be monitoring that chat to make sure that we get those questions asked. Or if you want to, if you would like to unmute yourself and just ask a question that way, we are welcome to do that as well. And yeah, so I'm going to turn this over to Ryan Young for just a moment. Let him introduce himself and to kind of get us kicked off.
Absolutely. So my name is Ryan Young. I am the Assistant Director of Regional Advancement. So what I do is I do alumni relations for the regionals. So whether you're joining us today for the session or whether you are watching this futuristically and watching the recorded version, thank you so much for joining us today and having an opportunity to hear from some of our alums. I first want to thank both Mike and Greg for coming today. I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for our students to hear about your experiences, both online today, and we are going to be hosting these online so people will have an opportunity to hear your answers and glean from your experience, even months from now. So that's the cool part about this, the Zoom technology that we're all operating in, is it really, enhances the opportunities we have. So I'm going to introduce both of you and then give you each an opportunity to share a little bit more about yourself. So Mike and Greg are both engineering grads. Mike Titus works for CE Power, and I'm going to let him share a little bit more about that. And Greg Pollitt, who is also with us, works for Honeywell Intelligrated in Mason. Had an opportunity to come and visit Honeywell Intelligrated. Some of the stuff they do out there is fascinating. So before we, commence, I'm going to let both of them share a little bit more about themselves. So, Mike, you're first on my screen. Do you want to kick us off?
I appreciate it. Again, thanks for having me here today. I believe the prep sheet said to talk about your time since graduating from Miami, but I'm actually going to go a little bit ahead of that because it's pertinent to my background. Presently, I am the Vice President of Project Engineering for CE Power. I'm in charge of all the design efforts for our large projects division, and I also oversee 4 specialized technicians that focus on those projects, as well as a CAD resource. My career started really about 17 years ago or so in the Navy. I was a nuclear power mechanic. That's where I first got an introduction to the technical side of the world and developed an affinity for it. From there, when I got out, I started all the way at the bottom of this industry as an electrical apprentice. Zero official experience in the industry, but began working my way up towards a journeyman license as an electrician. Prior to completing that, which I did complete it, I began going to school at night, so definitely very much the definition of a non-traditional student. Nights and weekends here at Miami, working through electromechanical engineering technology, and then eventually on to electrical and computer engineering technology electrical and computer engineering technology for the Associates in Electromechanical Engineering Technology for the Bachelor's. While I was attaining my degree, I began getting roles as what's called a designer, not really a full engineer because I wasn't degreed, but basically an engineer without the title. I worked for a handful of consulting firms here in the greater Cincinnati area, and eventually landed at CE Power, where I was given some of my bigger opportunities in the management side of the business.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate you sharing about yourself. Greg, would you like to share about yourself?
Sure, thanks. So I am a 2001 grad from the Electromechanical Engineering program. I actually went through a +2 program, so I started my college years at Cincinnati State. It was actually Cincinnati Technical College at the time, but I came through the +2 program, and then I I had a few different jobs between now and where I am currently as the core products manager for a group of engineering teams who are responsible for all of Honeywell Intelligrated's conveyor offerings. So Honeywell Intelligrated makes the material handling systems that are inside of automated warehouses. So one of our biggest customers is Amazon, and we both manufacture the conveyor equipment, the palletizing equipment, the sortation equipment, all that automated machinery, and we also implement large-scale engineering projects to outfit a brand new warehouse with all of the mechanical and electrical and software systems that make it to the point where you Amazon site, and like I like to say, our equipment kicks into gear as soon as you push the button. It gets you these things the next day sometimes. So yeah, I've got teams reporting to me here in Mason, and I work closely with our Bangalore development group over in India. So that's my mornings are typically consumed with working with those teams because of the time change, obviously.
Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate you sharing about yourself. We have a list of questions, and I think Doug here in a second is going to open us up with that. So thank you for sharing with us about yourself. The questions are going to be pretty broad about your Miami experience, and to give people an opportunity to kind of find out what about your Miami experience helped you be successful in what you're doing today. But I'll let Doug go ahead and kick us off with the first question.
All right, thanks, Ryan. And before we get too far along as well, I want to acknowledge Emily Cardwell-Snively. Emily is our Assistant Director for Career Development in our Career Services team, and she is mostly working from home and also up in the Middletown campus. And she's available to work with our students and helping to decide on some career paths, but also all your job search readiness skills and getting prepared for your job search. And so thank you, Emily, for being with us today and kind of monitoring this Zoom technology for us today. So Mike and Greg, let me start off asking Mike, how did your degree at Miami University prepare you for what you're doing now?
So I like this question because it made me sit back and think, what, outside of going to a classroom, learning some formulas, what did I really get out of my experience in Miami? And for me, what I gained that I didn't already have was an appreciation for the diversity of what was up and coming in the workforce. I had some exposure when I was in my Christian all throughout, and even while I was going to school at night. But and understanding that everybody, and not just culturally, everybody has a different background in terms of education, upbringing, even financial, and learning to work with all those different types of people really came to fruition with what I was exposed to in Miami. It's probably one of the biggest things I appreciate from my time in Miami. And then beyond that, the caliber of some of the professors that I had, they weren't satisfied with you getting into a textbook and memorizing a formula and applying it on the next exam and calling that good. They really pushed you to understand the material that was being thrown at you and make sure that you really picked up the theories behind everything that you're learning, so that when you are challenged with real life situations down the road, you can actually engineer a solution around it, which at the end of the day is what we want to do as a result of this program.
Got to unmute here. So yeah, thank you, Mike, for sharing that. That's excellent. And Tim, we'll go ahead and ask you the same question, and then we'll probably bounce back and forth. Ryan will ask a question and so forth from there. But I'm sorry, I keep referring to it's Greg.
No worries. No worries.
Greg, could you share the same question with you?
Yeah, so same question to me around what prepared me for my career from Miami. So I like to say it was very much the starting point more than the end point. So obviously I picked up the fundamental engineering knowledge that started me on what was to be actually many years of continued learning on my own. But it's very similar to what I think Mike was describing, where it was learning how to work with people. I mean, for me, it was sort of some of the project work. I remember specifically the labs of kind of being forced to work in teams, where for me personally, I was more comfortable working individually. So a lot of the experience with Miami was sort of a kickstart to get out of my own head and start, working with different people, different backgrounds, and so on. And that even continued through my. I went back to Miami and got my MBA to the Farmer School of Business, and that was even further along that same road where we had multidisciplinary teams, people who, in that case, weren't even engineers. So that was, a broadening of that same idea for me. It was learning how to work with people from different backgrounds, different viewpoints. Couldn't always go at these people with the facts and figures like you would argue with an engineer. It was more nuanced than that. So yeah, that was really what it was for me.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, let me unmute myself before I start talking. What type of extracurricular activities did you engage in during your time at Miami Regionals?
I'll take that one first because I'm going to be the easiest, I think. I was working full time, again, non-traditional students, and I started having kids at a relatively young age, so I didn't really have much time for extracurriculars. It's definitely none that were officially sanctioned or put on by the university anyway. So again, quick on that one for me.
How about yourself, Greg?
I was in student government a little bit there toward the latter part of my time at Miami Hamilton. Similar answer. I was very much non-traditional student, so I didn't have lots of free time to engage in extracurricular. That was a point in my life after I'll put a plug in for Rob Speckert. I met him after my brother actually decided against going to Miami Hamilton. He had met Rob and he said, "You got to go talk to this guy." So I went and talked to Rob about it, and he got me hooked on signing up and going to Miami Hamilton. But yeah, I didn't have a ton of extra capacity to do a lot of extracurriculars because at that point in my life, it was very much I guess I'll say recovery. I was kind of off track with things right then, and I really threw myself into just getting myself focused on the right things again. Without getting into too many dirty details, it was focus on school, focus on little else for me at the time.
Cool. Mike, what's a typical day like for you?
So there's really no typical day for me. Generally speaking, what I'll find myself doing throughout the day, a lot of design reviews, both electrical and mechanical. I don't think I mentioned it in my intro, but CE Power is a power engineering and services company, so we do a lot with utilities at all voltage levels, low, medium, and high. And we do a lot of retrofit type projects where we're going into older facilities and reworking the equipment that they have to function with new equipment, with new standards and new technologies. And so a lot of that can be very engineering intensive, and it requires a lot of oversight and a lot of approval processes. And I'm pretty deeply involved in that. Beyond that, I am on the executive management team, so I have a lot of corporate responsibilities, ensuring that the company is going in certain directions, and I've got a number of initiatives to that end, a lot of process development, process improvement. And then I do have a decent sized team reporting directly to me, so with that comes a lot of personnel management, everything from ensuring they have enough work assigned to them to personnel reviews. And fortunately for me, it's not very frequent, but occasionally discipline. And the makeup of that, it really does change from day to day. It all tracks with whatever our overall backlog is.
Cool. Just a reminder to the students, if you have some specific questions that you would like to ask our alumni, feel free to post those in the chat box, and then we'll get to those questions as we go through our presentation.
All right. What do you like best about working in this profession and or your employer? And I'll open that up for both of you to answer, whether you guys want to answer it, whoever wants to answer first, if you both want to answer. So
Go ahead, Greg.
I'll take a turn at this one. So I'd say the thing I like most about working in the material handling industry is it's booming right now. I mean, we have more work to do than we can possibly get done. And amazingly, because of the economy the way it is right now, we're staffing up, we're hiring people. So it's very dynamic here. There's a lot of changes going on. I think I mentioned this earlier, we went through an acquisition. So we used to be Intelligrated, and now we were acquired in 2016 by Honeywell. So there's a lot of that same process adoption, process management, learning how to do things the new Honeywell way, learning how to use a lot of the systems and tools that Honeywell provides us. So Honeywell's an enormous company, multinational. They've got the funding to purchase these big ticket software tools that we are able to use. So it's pretty intense, but it's in a good way right now. There's a lot of new people that I get to interact with every day in the U.S. In India, we've got teams in the Czech Republic. So there's a lot of new faces, new cultures, new understandings of how to do engineering work that I get to be exposed to every day. It's probably the best thing about the industry and the company that I work for is that the people and just the fast pace of things right now. It's exciting. It can be exhausting, but it's exciting at the same time.
And Mike, I think we have time. If you'd like to share anything about that as well, I think we're doing pretty well on time.
Okay.
Would you like to share what you like about working in your profession?
Yeah, sure. I'm the type of person that I like to be challenged. Occasionally, that can lead to being overwhelmed, but that just comes with the territory sometimes. In this industry, you are always being challenged. I mentioned before that we deal a lot with older equipment, trying to make it work with new equipment. If you can imagine, there are just frankly a lot of challenges, a lot of obstacles that have to be overcome to do that. And a lot of the new equipment I'm talking about are incorporating new technologies that, when they were designed as a new technology just in the past couple of years up to today, nobody's really thinking, okay, how can we make this work with something that was built and installed in the 50s? And so seeing those come into my office and watching my team go to work on them and developing these really innovative solutions for our customers, and at the end of the day, creating something that, when you first hear about it, you think there's no way that can be done, or it's impossible. That level of satisfaction, I think, is probably my favorite thing that I get. Echoing a little bit of what Greg said, the power industry, I won't say is recession or COVID proof, but it's definitely recession or COVID resistant. We had a number of projects that they did push out as a result of everything that happened starting in March, but it's all coming back now. Like Greg, we're busy as can be. We measure on utilization with our team, how much time are they spending actually working on a project that we have funding from for our customers. And my team is well over 80%, and that means we're very, very busy, which is a very good thing for everybody that's here and their families.
Excellent. Greg, you had mentioned Amazon as one of your customers, or UPS and FedEx also customers of yours?
Yeah, UPS, FedEx, Walmart, um, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, a lot of the big names.
I
Yeah.
had the privilege of visiting the World um, uh, Center, I guess you call it, down in Louisville for UPS at the airport down there, and saw that operation. And wow, that's that is quite an operation.
They're a tough customer too. We're doing a couple of big projects for them right now. They use what we call our parcel product, which is enormous belt conveyor. They can handle huge cartons, and it's demanding. We have some pretty amazing people that allow us to get these. They can be 15 million or more dollar warehouses set up within 9 months. A lot of what we do right now is it's paced on the retail environment, so it's all based on when people are buying product in the stores around the holidays. So we kind of have startups implementation in January, February after all the returns are back from the holidays, and then we have to be done and out of these facilities by getting off site now would be late, put it that way, because things are already accelerating, getting into Black Friday madness.
All right. What do you think what kind of trends, I should say, are occurring within your profession that might have some impact on future career opportunities with your industry? Mike, we'll go ahead and start with you.
The power industry on a whole is slow to follow everyone else's industry trends. Reason for that is once something is on and working, nobody really wants to touch it and mess with it. And so that includes the introduction of new technology, which sounds a little odd because I pretty much just said our whole business is based on that introduction. So it is happening. The biggest trends that are occurring are around the automation of our switchgear. Switchgear are all the components that facilitate power flow from the generation station down to where we need to. So it's the automation and the conversion of older electromechanical style relay protection to solid state relay protection, where that becomes important for potentially the students on the call here. If any of you are looking at electrical or electromechanical, I would recommend you definitely take to heart any of the programming courses that you get, because a lot of what I'm finding my instructors do is programming relays, programming PLCs, programming slicks, all with the interest of making these power systems operate automatically based on whatever parameters our customers require.
And do you work with multiple power generation types? So nuclear, coal, wind, gas, hydro, all of that? I guess again we're still good on time. So Greg, could you share any trends that are going on within your industry as well?
Yeah, I mean, so it's the same story. So what was already going on in the industry was increasing shop from home adoption. People more and more are sitting back and shopping through their computer instead of going to the store. So with the epidemic this year, that's just really accelerated all of that in a big way. So we're enjoying that right now. It's making us really busy. We're actually Amazon's moving into Europe, or trying to, and we're trying to go along with them. So a lot of what we're doing right now is a metrification, I guess I'll call it. So it's preparing our products that were very well suited for the U.S. market and making them compliant to the EU set of laws and regulations, which are a bit more stringent than what we have in the U.S. So there's more in the way of pinch points or nip points is what they like to call it on our machinery, electrical standards and things like that that we have to follow. So it's introducing a lot of complexities to us, but it's good at the same time. I think what we're seeing just recently is some moves by again Amazon to even go smaller with their warehouses. So the idea being more local presence with their warehouses. It's kind of that last mile idea, right? The closer they can get to the doorstep with their products, the quicker response time and the shorter duration they can commit to customers. All back to that same idea is giving customers the ability to click a button and get something within days or sometimes even hours.
Yeah.
That is the trend. There's also this omnichannel idea that's really interesting to me right now. Omnichannel means when you, as a customer, want to buy something on the web, it doesn't matter to you whether that product is coming from a warehouse across the country or from even a store locally. So the stores, the storefronts themselves have become, in a sense, warehouses. You kind of see the same idea playing out if you go to Kroger and you see people who are doing the click list in the aisles, filling orders for folks who don't want to go in the store. It's the same kind of thing. So it's kind of like blurring the lines between a retail establishment and a warehouse. I want to date myself and talk about service merchandise. You guys remember service merchandise? Yeah. Same idea, right? The warehouse is the store.
Yeah, and so a quick follow-up, Greg. Does Honeywell Intelligrated get involved in the delivery modes as well, like drones, for example?
No, I wouldn't say drones. But what we do get involved with heavily is what Mike was mentioning with the code or the software. I mean, that's in a large way, that's really where the magic happens with our equipment. What we make, a conveyor for a box is not really all that complex mechanically, but where the secret sauce is in the software and the control systems that manage the machinery layer and then the warehouse layer and then ultimately the ERP systems or the business systems of the company. So all three of those tiers kind of have to work together to make everything orchestrated just so that the products get to where they need to go as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's I'll emphasize that again. It really is with the code. So people who are getting involved in software right now or controls logic right now are really going to be a good place, high demand.
Yeah, that's good news. Pass it on to you.
I am muted, ma'am. Pull up the questions. What advice would you offer to someone thinking about pursuing a career in your field?
Like you talked last, Greg, I guess I'll start with this one.
Let's take turns.
I've thought about this quite a bit and asked this a number of times. For this discussion, I really have two pieces of advice. One broad, one for focus. The broader piece of advice I can give, and I talked about this a little bit already, don't be satisfied with knowing where to find a formula and applying it to wherever it's from. Make sure you take that time to understand what is behind that formula so that you understand the inner workings of whatever is being applied so that you can truly understand the bigger picture of what it is you're doing. You don't want to just take basically the work of somebody else and carry it forward to what you're doing and call that an engineered solution. You don't really understand what's happening behind the scenes. You're not setting yourself apart, frankly. You will be a much more valuable engineer and asset to your own life if you have that deep understanding. On the narrower focus side, if you're going to take the time out of your life to pursue an engineering degree, an engineering technology degree. I cannot stress enough the importance and the value of immediately upon graduation, just before taking your fundamental of engineering exam, getting that out of the way. Even if you're sitting here saying, yeah, there's no way down the road I'm ever going to get a professional engineering license, so I don't need to take that exam. Life can change. Requirements of your job can change. Personal desires can change. And coming from somebody who did exactly this, going back and trying to take that first exam a number of years out of college and gotten a lot of things, quite frankly, is very, very tough. And then on the flip side of it, as somebody who reviews a lot of resumes and does a lot of interviews, when I see that somebody has taken that initial step towards that highest level of achievement, if you will, professionally, for an engineer, it will set you apart from whatever the group of candidates there are. And then again, if you decide down the road you want to pursue professional engineering licensure, you've already got that first step out of it. You're well on the pathway.
I appreciate knowing that, Mike, because I do hear from a lot of engineering students that I really don't have a desire to go for that PE. But yeah, that's excellent advice to, you don't know what the future holds. And so, yeah, go ahead and take care of it as early as possible, just like you're saying, so that if you do, in fact, need it down the road, it's there and you've got that credential. So that's cool. Greg, we can, yeah,
same
ask.
question to me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I suppose I'll underscore what Mike said. That first point that you made, I think, is really important. You can't just be a worker bee. There's way too many worker bees out there. That doesn't differentiate you from the competition that you'll face. You want to be more of a solution provider. You know, someone that can think creatively, someone that can solve problems independently. You know, someone that can work within a team and get things done. That's what I look for when I'm interviewing, and it's among the top criteria, if not the top criteria. When I thought about this question offline, I came to networking as probably the other big thing I wanted to touch on. So I hope that the students on the call are hearing this from the instructors and the professionals at school, but that it is critical that you network. It's critical that you put yourself out there on LinkedIn, that you develop an attractive profile for yourself. I remember this well, it can seem like there's not a lot to talk about when you're a student going after your first position, but there really is a lot of those project teams that you're on in school, and there's just a lot of good stories there to tell. And it's important to get that message out there. So you want to do that. You want to find somebody who can be a connection for you. So you're looking for somebody who's in the industry, someone who maybe is 5 or 10 years ahead of you in their career, who can know you and know your name and think about you, remember you when the job opportunities come about. So I got the job that I'm in today because a good friend of mine from church had a job opening, and he knew I was in a position that I wasn't loving, and he said, "Greg, you'd be great for that role, and what'd you think about it?" And it was his second attempt to pull me away from the company I was working for at the time, but I finally said yes to it, and that's how it happens. I mean, you get a foot in the door that way, and it really is about connection. So you can never fail to recognize someone who you might work with at a job. Those people are your assets 5-10 years down the road. Those connections are the ones who help you transition through your career. And it's probably obvious to everyone who's below a certain age, but it's not normal to stay at a job for 15, 20 years anymore. It's you hop. It's just the name of the game. So yeah, those connections to people are really important.
Well, that's good confirmation. Emily and I certainly talk to students a lot about the importance of networking, and that's what Ryan is all about in his work. He is forever doing the networking. So yeah, that's great to know. So that gets us through our prepared questions. But I'm going to remind the students that there's an opportunity now for you to be asking some particular questions that may be curious to know from our two alumni panelists. So feel free to either unmute or to post a question in that chat box. We'd be happy to ask our alums about that.
Anybody out there looking for work?
Me first. Send your resume to me and I'll send it over.
While we're waiting on any potential questions, Mike, Greg, was there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to share that you feel like would be beneficial for students to hear, or you wish you would have known as a student? Like, is there anything that, you know, we didn't cover or didn't hit on in the questions that you're like, you know, I was really hoping to share this with potential, you know, potential new engineers?
Nothing's coming to my mind.
I got the most important stuff out.
Well, for those who are on here, I guess one question that I would ask for them, obviously, you know, I'm not looking to get a position in engineering, but, you know, it sounds like you guys are both in some level or capacity or another in charge of hiring. So when a new grad comes in, or when you're looking to hire, what are the things that you're looking for, on a resume, and what are the things that you're looking for in an interview that really solidifies to you, this is someone I want on my team?
For me, when it's a new college graduate coming in, you can't expect a whole lot of real world experience unless they were fortunate enough to have a number of it, which is great if they do. But frequently they don't. So what I look for is that genuine level of curiosity. You know, they ask you the typical questions: what do you do here every day? Explain it to them. I like to see that secondary engagement. Push me for more understanding of what I do, so that you feel like you're being fully equipped to make an assessment on me and my company. And that's probably really important to understand too when you go through these interviews. These interviews are not just the company interviewing you; it's the other way around too. It's you making a decision to come and join the company. It can be one of the biggest decisions of your life, and perhaps even that first major job is the biggest decision of your life because it sets the trajectory for everything else you're going to do. So really, engagement for me is probably one of the biggest things I look for.
Yeah, I'd give a similar answer. For me, the thing I tend to try to assess is a person's drive. So it's whether they're really the kind of person who's going to, I mean, frankly, the person who's going to need a lot of attention if I hire them on, or if it's the type of person who's going to take the ball and run with it, and I can tell them, hey, I need you to get this situation to stage C, and not have to walk them through every step along the way. So it's kind of the independent person who's going to be more attractive to me. And as Mike said, I also really appreciate when a interview isn't a one-way thing. If it feels like a burden that I have to drive the conversation, that I have to pull every little nugget out of somebody, that's just more that indicator that I'm not, I don't have a candidate that's going to really be independent. So yeah, there should be that give and take. If for a good interview, for a good candidate, it tends to almost midway through the conversation, it turns into a chat. it just turns into a two-way dialogue, and that's really kind of what I'm looking for. You're nodding, so it sounds like you've experienced that too, Mike.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. The best interviews are discussions and not.
Yeah. And frankly, it's easier on the interviewer when it through the discussion too. I don't like to feel like an interrogator.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it sounds like neither one of you are into hand holding. So yeah, we certainly hope that we're teaching that independence and proactiveness through the coursework that we are offering here at Miami. So both of you have mentioned these potential job opportunities, career opportunities with your companies. So if a student, let's say we have a senior that is looking for opportunities, what would be the best way for them to reach out either to you or to the company for this opportunity?
So officially for CE Power, they need to go to cepowerjobs.com. I think that's the correct website. And fill out an application and submit a resume. What I like to do for anybody from Miami is to make my professional email available to any student. And they can send a resume directly to me, and I'm happy to review it. If I see some promise there, I can certainly expedite the process and get somebody in for a phone screen or for a face-to-face, depending on the location.
Yeah, that's excellent. And so trying to think, could we post your email address in the chat box?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. And Greg, if you're willing to do that as well, that would be helpful. And then the students could have access that way. Excellent. Yeah, thank you for doing that. And Greg, is it similar with Honeywell Intelligrated? There's a job or careers page on your website?
It's very similar. Yeah, there's a formal process where you want to go to jobs or careers at Honeywell. Google will get you there if you type in those phrases. And then you'll find a position you're interested in. We post everything there. We post internships, we post co-ops, full-time roles. And then in parallel, it's a great idea to reach out directly to someone here and get that inside information. I mean, the way it plays out for me is if if there's a candidate here, I can often share who the hiring manager is. I can socialize internally what the role is like, and it the way it should play out is it should be a fit, right? It's a fit for the company and it's a fit for the student. So there's a lot to knowing students or knowing candidates and what they're after, and that makes them more or less suited for a particular position in a particular group in a particular location.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are nearing the end of our time actually for this panel. And again, we want to extend our gratitude and appreciation to Mike Titus and Greg Paulett for your participation with us today and sharing your stories. This has been excellent information that I hope our students are appreciating and will undoubtedly be of great value to them as they are pursuing their career paths. So we'd like to just applaud you and thank you for doing that with us. And for the students that are on with us, if you have any classmates that were not able to participate today, we encourage you to share with them that we have recorded this session, and so it can be available to students later. And Emily, how will we go about making that available?
So it should be posted on the page for the specific career community. So we're collaborating with academic advising to post both panels on the webpage. So the faculty and staff panel that's happening on Friday will also be posted on the engineering page. So check back for that, any students who are interested.
All right, thank you. Ryan, any closing comments?
I just want to, I'm going to second what Doug said and say thank you guys so much for both coming and sharing and giving wonderful insight that our students are going to be able to glean from, not only those who are, online with us today, which it looks like we had a couple more join us since the beginning. So, but not only them, but people who are able to come on and watch the recorded version. You guys are great representatives of, what you can do after having graduated from Miami Regionals. You are our alums who are doing great things. And I thank you for representing us well and for being a resource for our students.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yep.
Yeah, and Martha was posting in the chat box that she sends her thanks and appreciation for the advice as well. And so again, thank you all, students and alumni, and for your participation. And we'll be doing this again in 2 weeks. We have health and sciences is our next career panel, scheduled for the 21st. Same time, same bat channel. So.
Okay, everyone. Stay well.
All right. All right. You all take care. Have a great day.
You too.